Good day South Africa, goeiedag South Africa, Dimmelang South Africa. Welcome to another episode of the Sector Flame. This is our final pool breakdown, breaking down pools G and H. Joining me here is our resident expert, Vickers. How are you?
Good evening, Lem. Good to be back once again here with you and with all the listeners. Looking forward to dissecting the final two pools.
Can you believe this is, we've done 16 teams now, eh? So we've really come a long way since we started this a month ago.
Yes, yeah, that is quite impressive, and to think it's only 8 days left until the World Cup kicks off. It's going to be quite an extraordinary World Cup this year.
Yeah, I'm also very excited. So I think let's just get to it. Pool G, Belgium, Panama, Tunisia, and England. We kick it off with Belgium. The Belgian team, they are player 3-4-2. Got a couple of big names, and they've been unbeaten in the qualifying rounds.
Yes, Lem. Belgium went through qualification in some extraordinary fashion. They are one of the teams that have an extraordinary amount of talent in their squad. A lot of the people that watch the Premier League will know guys like Eden Hazard that play for Chelsea or Lukaku that plays for United. But not only that, they also have some very talented defenders, guys from the midfield. And this year in the World Cup is really the year for Belgium to step up now. 2014, a lot of people saw them as dark horses, said, listen, watch this young squad. They can give a surprise or two in the World Cup. Same thing for Euro 2016, and they just haven't really delivered on the promise that they've shown so far, this group of guys. So yeah, this is the World Cup that they really have to step up and make a deep run.
They actually they fell out in the quarterfinals against Argentina in 2014, and they actually topped USA in that pool. So yeah, good run for them. Is there anybody specific we're looking for this team to be the pivot or the guy who the team revolves around?
Yes. In defense, people are a bit worried about them. They, like you said, they play the three central defenders at the back. Where they do have 4 guys with a lot of experience. You have Vincent Kompany, you have Thomas Vermaelen. But the problem is that if one of those guys get injured, there might be a backup to come in. But other than that, people are a bit worried about their depth in defense. And you can see that with one of their recent results. They had a 3-3 draw against Mexico. And Belgium really is a superior team to Mexico, so they shouldn't be conceding 3 goals. Goals against a team like Mexico. But they have Thibaut Courtois in the goal, which is an amazing goalkeeper. You can look out for him to maybe win the Golden Glove. And then a guy like De Bruyne, who had a fantastic season with Man City. You want to get the ball at his feet as much as possible.
Yeah. Look, now we do a lot of preparation for this podcast to the listeners at home. Vickers gets all his facts right about the players. I have to do statistics and random trivia. Now, Belgium's got a 12-1 chance of winning. I would say it's above average, but not up there with Germany and those guys. But one thing I want to speak about with the Belgian team, okay? Belgian team calls themselves the Red Devils. Okay, now I went to look up at, because I know of some other teams that call themselves the Red Devils, and I've heard the term before. So I went and looked this up, and this is really related to the Soccer World Cup, so you have to know this trivia if you want to know your stuff. Okay, I want to tell you just quickly, 30 seconds, all the stuff we know about who are Red Devils. Okay, you've got an 80s blues band known as the Red Devils. Okay, Man United, a sport team, also known as the Red Devils. There's a town in Alaska called Red Devil. Okay, there's a chemo drug with a street name Red Devil that people actually use. Yes, what have I wrote? There's a comic book hero, Red Devil, who's the sidekick of Blue Devil. I don't want to get all my stuff here. Okay. There's a 1921 movie called Red Devil. There is no less than 15 military outfits, like, bomber squads or platoons or some shit like that, who's known as the Red Devils. One of them in the Second World War Canadian team. A Canadian outfit. And then there's 13 football teams who are known as the Red Devils, who call themselves that. There's a list yay long on Wikipedia about people calling themselves Red Devils. So really some good sport trivia if you want to catch up on that.
Yes, that's definitely something people can drop next to the braai to exaggerate the knowledge.
Yes.
One interesting thing you just mentioned there, I think you said their odds are at 12-1. You just mentioned.
Yes.
Now, an interesting fact regarding that is it's in most football fans know, it's a common fact that no foreign coach that has actually ever won the World Cup since the start of the World Cup in the 1930s. Every team has been coached by a team from that same nation.
Okay.
And Belgium actually has the best odds to break that record this year with with a Spanish coach in Robert Martinez. So that's quite interesting, and I do believe, yes, like you say, 12-1. It's not up there with the absolute favourites, but if Belgium can really get their cohesion going this World Cup and stay fit, I believe we can see these guys maybe in a semi-final, maybe even all the way into a final.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, let's just keep rolling. Next thing we have is Panama. Panama team is known as Las Canaleros. Now, as if you're a long-term listener or follower, you'll know my Spanish is up there. Los Canaleros means the canal men, not camel with an M, canal with an N. Spanish, Panama Canal. Panama is one of the teams where it has the lowest statistical odds of winning this. If you're a bookie, they've got 1,000-1 chance of winning it, and they play a 4-4-2 team formation.
Yes, Panama, actually their first World Cup that they've ever qualified for. I think if you go and look at their final 23-man squad, you're going to be hard stretched to find a household name, an absolute world superstar. But like most of the teams that are a bit lower ranked and a bit weaker teams, they do pride themselves in quite as a hard-working defensive unit. That try and hit you on the counter attack and maybe try and spring a surprise.
Yes, and I've read that they say this coach is one of only 4 coaches who in the history of soccer has managed 3 different teams in terms of countries at a World Cup. This is Hernan Gomez. So another coaching trivia fact for you.
Yes, that which basically makes him the only guy from the Panama contingent that will not be looking around in awe and absolutely being just happy to be there.
He actually said, his team, this is a direct quote, will go to the World Cup to learn and compete. It's an experience to enjoy for the team.
Yes, like I said, these guys will be in awe. They will be going on the field and having to restrain themselves from actually asking autographs from some of the other players.
This team is it's like when you've in your high school and you've got this one cool kid who's throwing a house party, and his parents out and they're there. They've got a jacuzzi. There's girls in bikinis. They're drinking, playing some pool, and he's just the weird nerd who's got invited. He's just sitting on the couch like, listen, I'm at this house party. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just excited to be here. I'm just gonna sit here and watch you all make out on the couch. That's okay.
Yes, everybody wants to see how the other side lives every now and then, eh?
Yeah. Okay, let's move along. Because the third team in this pool is Tunisia. Tunisia, known as the Eagles of Carthage. And they play a 4-2-3-1. So once again, also a widespread for an African team.
Yes, the formation that Germany actually implemented so well in 2014. Yes, Tunisia. Actually quite a surprisingly high world ranking for me. They're ranked 14th in the world currently. And if you take, it's a bit of an irrelevant stat because it goes so far back, but they've only won a single game at a World Cup in 1978. They had a 3-1 victory over Mexico. But if you look at their more recent results, you can see that they are not totally thrown in at the deep side. I mean, they beat Iran 1-0, they beat Costa Rica 1-0, which is quite an impressive result. 2-2 draw versus Portugal as well is also quite a good result for them.
Yeah, and I see Tunisia at the 600-1 odds of winning. Vikas, I ask you a similar question about other African teams, but can African people put their hopes and their money on Tunisia for this World Cup?
Unfortunately not. I mean, if you're going to throw your money in the water like that, just go and buy yourself a Springbok test match ticket. At least you'll get something out of that. But yeah, unfortunately, I can't see Tunisia really progressing out of this pool since you do have Belgium in England and then go any further. So, sorry, Africa. There's more dashed up for us.
Yeah, Vic is calling a spade. And now you just touched on them. England, the final team in this pool. The 3 Lions. They've got an 18-1 chance of winning, slightly lower than Belgium. Yes, and they play a 3-4-2-1. So also one of the few teams who don't employ 4 defenders as a standard.
Yes, Lem, if you give me opportunity, I'll make a whole podcast about the English, because ever since they won the World Cup in, I think it was 66, they've been going to World Cups every year and saying, listen, this is our year. This year we're going to perform. This year we're going to make a semi-final, make a final, even maybe go all the way.
So they're like the Proteas of soccer.
Absolutely. If you look at the results during qualification as well, I think they lost the qualification game for a major tournament, I think in 2009. Just let me get that fact. Yes, in October 2009. That's now 39 straight games that they haven't lost in qualification for a major tournament, which obviously includes the Euro Championship and the World Cup. But if you go and look at the results in the World Cup, 2014 group stage elimination, 2010 round of 16, 26 quarterfinal, the European Championship 2016 round of 16, they got knocked out by Iceland.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really time for the English as well to step up, which is going to make this an interesting group, because like I said, Belgium also needs to step up. And the English, they have a very young squad, 26-year-old average, one of the youngest squads at the World Cup. And in Gareth Southgate, they have a bit of a more adventurous coach. Like you touched on, they only have the 3 defenders. So they are taking quite a lot of defenders to this World Cup, because they are implementing 3 central defenders at the back, and then they also have the 2 wing backs as part of that formation that can press forward as well as help with the defense. But yeah, I think the English are going to be somebody to watch, because like I said, they have a lot of great talent. I mean, Harry Kane, the captain. If you go and look at Raheem Sterling, Jamie Vardy, who's exceptional season for Leicester, helped them to secure Premier League medal at 500-1 odds. And then, of course, Dele Alli in the midfield, who a lot of people see as one of the best players in the Premier League at the moment.
Yeah, no, definitely as a star-loaded team. I also think the English are on a bit of I almost call it a new era. They had that whole Wayne Rooney, who was a long time, and it's almost like a rejuvenation for them. So it's like they say, there's no time like the present, and I think they should actually just take this moment and make it count.
Yes, absolutely.
Because now I'm going to ask you about Pool G. How do you rate for 1, 2, 3, 4? How these 4 teams are going to? We're talking Belgium, Panama, Tunisia, and England. Just quickly.
Lem, I see Belgium take the number 1 spot in this pool, closely followed by England. I do believe the Belgium versus England game is going to be one to watch. It's going to be an exceptional game, and the winner in that game will most probably top the pool. Maybe England can spring a surprise there and prove me wrong, but I do believe Belgium will finish first, England second. Unfortunately, I think Tunisia will finish a distant third, and then Panama will bring up the rear.
I believe England, I think they've got it just in a right combination. I think they might oust Belgium for that top spot, but let's see how it goes. That brings us to Pool H. Now, Pool H, a lot of people said this is the easiest pool in terms of the draw. If you look at the caliber of teams in this pool, not a whole lot of big heavyweights. We're speaking Poland, Senegal, Colombia, and Japan. So let's kick it off with Poland. Poland 60-1 odds. Like I said, not great. It's below average, like that middle tier, and they play a 4-2-3-1, also having that one striker at the front, which they prefer to give the ball to.
Yes, Lem. I don't think many people see it as the weakest pool. It is the weakest pool. If you go and take Poland as the best team, who technically has the highest ranking in 10th in the world, and like you said, they implement also that thought out strategy of 4-2-3-1, and with Robert Lewandowski up front, I mean, you have an absolute big shot star player up there. He scored a record-breaking 16 goals in qualification for them. Quite a successful qualification campaign, I might add to that. But there is a bit of a worry there for most people that they actually conceded the most goals as well for any team to top a group in the Euro qualification round.
I also read this. They say that Poland, one of the teams who, for a high-performing team, has the weakest defense, and I think it's like they say, defense wins games, especially in a World Cup and knockouts. So something to watch out for.
Defense definitely wins championships, but that doesn't mean they're not going to be very exciting to watch, especially in a pool like this where they are the most high-caliber team. I think we can expect a lot of goals in all their games. I mean, like I said, Robert Lewandowski, that guy just can't miss. So as well, even though they might not make it into the semi-finals and finals and so forth, you can definitely look out for him on near the top of the Golden Boot standings at the end of this World
So I
Cup.
think it's going to be exciting watching these teams play. I just want to say one thing about Poland. Poland's team is known as the White and Reds. Now, for the regular listeners to the podcast, they'll know we said Peru is also known as the White and Reds. So, I don't know what these guys think or how I come up with the same names, but yeah, the only chance I think these two teams are having of meeting is in the final, unless something goes slightly skew. So, if we have the White and Reds playing, we have a Peru-Poland final, which I don't think is going to happen.
Maybe one of our listeners could just go and check up for us as well. I do believe there's a team that is also called the Red and Whites. So there's also one trend coming through there.
Yes. Okay, and then the next one, next team in this pool, we've got Senegal, also African team playing a 4-2-3. Senegal, known as the Lions of Teranga, 150 to 1 odds. So they're almost out of the equation just straight from the bat.
Yes, Senegal is quite a good. They're one of the better teams in Africa, but they have been a lot better in previous years. But going into this World Cup, they have a bit of a worrying form sheet because they've mostly had draws in the last few games, and that includes a draw against Luxembourg. Now, for the most people that don't know the geography that well, Luxembourg is a very small country.
I didn't even know they had a soccer team, to be honest.
In Europe, yeah, and most people I think that lives in Luxembourg don't know that they have a soccer team. So getting a 0-0 result against them is just it's not good enough.
It doesn't bode well for them. No, I agree.
Yes.
And they also, I remember Senegal and us. We had that whole controversial game. I think December last year or the year before with the ref.
Oh yes, of course. I almost forgot about that. November 2016, I believe it was. Where we beat Senegal 2-1. And it was due to a penalty that the ref awarded due to, now you can actually use the air quotes, a handball, since it was a non-existent handball. And FIFA and the African Federation came back and said, listen, you are as crooked as can be, you're banned for life, and this game needs to be replayed.
Yeah, so they actually banned the ref. I remember this game, there was a lot of international media, BBC, CNN, those kind of people, Sky News, they're saying, this is unacceptable, corruption in soccer, this can't be happening, the corruption is too bad, and yeah, it didn't even make page 4, we were in the prime of the Jay-Z era, so we were like, okay, what's enough, we have so many corruption scandals, one random corruption scandal in a soccer match not affecting us, so...
yes, absolutely, I mean, if you live on the African continent, a corruption scandal,
it's
that's just, you take that with your morning breakfast.
Okay, that brings us to the third team in this pool, and it's Colombia. Now, Colombia, once again, one of those people, great name. The name is known as Los Cafeteros. Cafeteros means the coffee growers. So this team said, you know what, we need a good name. We're going to call ourselves coffee growers. Boom. That's what we do in our country. Colombia, one of the impressive teams. In the last, I want to say they got a bit of momentum since the previous World Cup, playing a 4-2-3-1 and a 35 to 1 chance of winning this World Cup. I think that's a bit low for them. Do you agree?
Yeah, Lem, I think it is. It's a very accurate assessment of the Colombian team at the moment.
The number or the name, coffee growers?
Both. Just to touch on the name, I think if you have to decide between the coffee growers and the cocaine growers, I think you want to go for the coffee growers.
Not the latter.
Yes, absolutely. But Colombia had a breakout 2014 World Cup. I mean, that put a lot of their bigger players on the world stage. Yes. A guy like James Rodriguez got a contract at Real Madrid. David Ospina went to Arsenal. A guy like Falcao got a lot of exposure as well, but that didn't really go his way. But the problem with that is those guys joined big clubs and they have a bit of a lack of game time at the moment. So that is a bit of a problem for this Colombian team going in. And a lot of people expected them to have a bit of a tougher time at this World Cup because they finished fourth in the South American qualification group. But what helped them a lot is the draw. The draw came out, and I mean, you're looking at Poland, Senegal, and Japan as your opposition.
Yeah,
so
definitely definitely the easiest pool by a country mile.
Yes, so I think they are quite lucky in that regards, and I do hope that they can capitalize on that. And because they do play some beautiful football, they're quite a good team to watch. They do have a tight defense, and they play a lot of possession-based football, but obviously with that typical South American flair thrown in there.
Look, you have to play every game to your best, but I think having an easier draw definitely makes that just so much easier. The final team, the Samurai Blue Japanese team. Now, neither you nor me know a lot about Japanese soccer, but for what we do know, they play a 4-3-3 strategy with a 250-1 odds of winning it. Now, I think that's pretty much on point, and I don't think Japan's known for their soccer skills. And they've had the biggest thing regarding the Japanese side is the coaching drama leading up to the World Cup.
Yes, Lem, I think that 350-1 odds was a bit generous. They might not have recalculated that since their whole coaching debacle. If I look at my notes here on the Japanese football, I think the only thing that is more of a mess than my notes are the actual Japanese football team at the moment. They fired their coach after securing qualification. Once again, to our regular listeners, they do know that is now called the Sanzar business model, where you take something that works and just change it for the sake of change.
That's a trend we have here in our podcast. And speaking about the teams who fire their coaches, it's almost the same as our viewership. It's just a straight downhill trend.
Yes, absolutely. And now they have a new coach in there. 2 months before the World Cup. Okay, he's a legend in Japanese footballing circles, but this is one of the teams that I understand a bit more why they actually got rid of the.
Yeah, I must actually understand why they fired him. Yeah.
Because if you go and look like a guy like Shinji Kagawa, who played for Man United, now plays for Borussia Dortmund. He's an exceptional playmaker. He's a very, very good footballer, and he got left out of the team. Okazaki, that plays for Leicester, that has a Premier League winning medal, got left out because he wanted to play a lot more of a defensive type of game, and that is just not the Japanese way, and we know they are very set in their ways. So there was a lot of friction and trouble in that group, even though they did win or they did get qualification. It wasn't always impressive, and after securing qualification, their results were borderline dismal. So I understand the change.
I think it's a matter of birds of a feather flock together. You know, these guys have a certain way of doing it, and it's almost like it's not just a team culture; it's a national culture. And somebody just came in and said, "Listen, we're going to change everything." That didn't sit well with the players or the coaches or manager, and they just said, "You know what, get."
And in Afrikaans we have a saying, "Nuwe besemsveer skoon." So hopefully that'll be the case for the Japanese team, where going back to their old style with a legend of the game, they can maybe get a few results in this World Cup.
Yeah, hopefully so. Speaking of results, how do you rate these teams? Japan, Colombia, Senegal and Poland. Just shortly, 1 to 4.
Yes, this is a bit of a more open group, if you want to put it like that.
Yeah, I think if it is going to come an upset or some wild card into the mix, I think it will probably come from this pool.
Yes, absolutely. Anybody in this pool can actually spring a surprise on a day and maybe go through and knock out one of the better teams. That said, I do believe Poland with Robert Lewandowski will finish at the head of this pool. And then second place is a bit more of a gamble.
Or three-sided dice roll.
I do believe Colombia has the best players, and they have the better squad to make it through. But like I said, Senegal or Japan, for that matter, could maybe one day eke out a draw and throw Spain into the works. But let's say I say Poland, Colombia, and there might even be a switch where it's Colombia, Poland. But let's go for Poland, Colombia, Senegal, and Japan in that order.
Okay, I go Colombia, Poland, and then also Senegal, Japan. I think Japan's going to be fourth, Senegal third. I think Colombia taking first place. That brings us to the end of this episode. Next week, Vickers, you want to tell the crowd what we're going to do next week? Next week is, I think we're going to shoot the podcast, and it's going to come up the day before the World Cup is, so we're going to do something special. Vickers, why don't you tell the people what we're going to do?
Yes, absolutely. I'm looking forward to that. We've now, for the last 4 or 5 weeks, been yakking on about all the teams in every pool and who's going to finish first and second and so we'll be recapping just on that, and then going through our bracket into the round of 16 quarterfinals and all the way to the final, as well as maybe throw a few predictions out there for stuff like the Golden Boot and the Golden Glove. It's going to be quite a fun podcast.
Yes, and just to spice up the fun, we're also going to create a separate bracket, seated exactly the same way. We're going to take the teams with the worst names, and we're going to filter filtered out until we say this team, in our opinion, has got the worst name. I'm pretty sure the Coffee Growers is going to be right up there. Even going to make the quarterfinals. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Guys, thanks for listening to this podcast and watching if you're on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. It helps other people find us. Also, remember to join the Super Brew pool. We've got a Super Brew pool. Currently, there's only 14 players. So if you join now, you've got a 1 in 15 shot of winning a free jersey. That's what's on play. A free jersey. We'll decide if it's going to be a winning team or you get team. We'll decide that later. So 1 in 15 chance of playing. Very good odds. Better than odds of all the players who are currently in Pool H. And finally, and if you join the Super Brew pool, if once the first game kicks off, we're not opening the door for new people. So if you want to be in the pool, you want your friends to join, split the jersey 50-50, that's fine. But you have to get them in the pool before the next week, Thursday. Okay, and then finally, Vikas, if people want to find you on Twitter, where can they get hold of you?
They can look me up at Vikas Skutte on Twitter. That's Vikas with a C and a K. And yeah, once again, I'm looking forward to some heated discussions on there.
Yeah, and you can get me at _lem, or if you're English, at die_lem. You can use the hashtag #DissectWithLem. We'll post there. Yeah, thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, take care, bye-bye.